Welcome back,
Hello.
Philip.
Hello to you.
Poor Sabrina.
Oh, I feel sorry for her. She's so embarrassed. It's so relevant.
Yeah, it is really. And I think that underneath that hand there, she was blushing away like mad.
Red from here to here.
More about blushing in just a moment, because here is our first letter. Dear girl, I'm 15 and I've been getting a rash on my neck from embarrassment every day. I sometimes seem to get it for no reason at all. The worst part is when someone asks, why are you so red? Is there any cure? Cream doesn't seem to work. My GP says it's shyness, but I'm quite outgoing, not shy. It's been happening for 4 years and I can't wear a round neck dress in case it happens. My school dance is coming up and I want to wear a nice off-the-shoulder dress.
Yeah. Well, let's see what we can do. This is not a rash. This is what happens when you're really self-conscious. You get a blush flush. And thousands of people write to me about this of all ages, not including, but he might have done, Sean Connery, because I understand until he was quite middle-aged, James Bond used to go red whenever he met a new person, especially a female person. You didn't see that in the films, but that's true. And the key is this feeling of emotion. You get terribly self-conscious. Now, your doctor is not quite right, because I agree with you, you're not shy. Many blushers are sociable and outgoing. The problem is that that emotion of self-consciousness comes in and it causes your heart to go much faster, moves the blood from here to the big muscles of the body. It actually keeps open the blood vessels of the face. Now, sometimes when you're very afraid, you go white. When you're embarrassed, you go red. These veins and capillaries stay open and the red colour of the blood is nearer the surface of the skin. And also, you get very hot. When you get hot, what do? You sweat. And again, that brings the blood to the surface to cool it off. Now, that's all that's actually happening. Except that for you, when you blush, you say, oh God, I'm blushing. And you blush about blushing. And so it goes more and more and more. Instead of saying, oh yes, I notice I've gone red. I do that sometimes. I must now relax and go floppy. You can teach yourself to relax. You don't do it at the time. You actually have to learn this at home and learn it in time for the school party. You tense the muscles of your body and you do each set in turn. I mean, I could do the face if you like. This is going to look very silly. Bear with me. Tense them very hard.
I tell you what it looks like. No, I won't.
And then relax. Oh, it's so nice when it stops. And then you learn that second part, the stopping bit, in these social situations, like our friend just now being confronted by Moon Man, whatever he was called. And
Moon Monkey,
Moon
the
Monkey.
lunar simian, the mermaids that you
yes,
don't know.
well, I have to sort of get up quite early on Saturday. I don't always see the programme. If you do that, if you... Be quiet. I'm going to blush, right? Now, I'm going to blush, but I'm actually going to deal with the blush. Here I'm blushing. I'm blushing.
So do that thing like you're trying to have a good...
No, I don't need to do that. I need to say to myself, it's all right to blush. And what's going to happen is that the physical process is going to reverse. Because if I don't worry about it, the body, if I keep my breathing regular and learn to breathe and remember to breathe, the redness must eventually go. And I hope it will by the end of this particular broadcast.
It already has.
There is also a very good book called Coping with Blushing, which explains all these things. It's by Dr. Robert Edelman, and it's published by the Sheldon Press at £3.99.
Coping with Blushing. Dear Philip and Sarah, I've been feeling very depressed lately. I'm 14, and if people ask me a question, I just go quiet. I also get depressed when I look at pictures of models in mags who are slim and pretty, whereas I'm ugly. The only time I'm happy is when I'm out with my best friend. She's loud and listens when I moan. I haven't told her how I feel because I get easily embarrassed. I wish I was more like her. Did you feel depressed when you were younger? And if you did, what did you do about it?
Well, I think teenage is very depressing, and I think you get some classic symptoms like you stay in bed in the morning, and you can get very difficult with people because you're going through so many changes, physical changes, but changes in your mind about yourself and about who you are. You don't really know who you are some of the time, so naturally you're a bit difficult. I think that the most important thing you can do is tell your friend, your good mate, that you do feel depressed, because getting these awkward feelings out, sharing them, makes you feel a little more in contact, a little more connected, a little more normal. Yes, I got depressed. I got depressed about Mr. Murray, my sadistic maths teacher from Scotland, and if you're still with us, Mr. Murray, from the Montrose School in Leicester, watch out. I haven't forgiven you yet. I tried not to wake up. I tried not to go to sleep the night before his class. so that tomorrow wouldn't come, because it was so awful, because he was so rude and aggressive and violent on occasions.
You thought you could almost escape the next day by staying awake?
Yeah, and the other thing was that I got depressed about being fat, and I got depressed about the school cross-country because I couldn't run it. And I eventually learned two things I did. I'll ask you about yours. I started to hit a tennis ball against a wall very hard, so physical exercise, and I think boys do this sometimes. And I hear some girls actually go dancing to cope with it as well. And the other thing was, I learned that eventually, even the worst day will end. Mr. Murray is no longer in my life, and he was only there for a year, and after that year, I was okay. What did you do?
Similar things. I mean, I got depressed about not doing well enough at school so that I wouldn't be able to do what I wanted to do when I left. I got depressed about not being good enough to pass my piano exams. I got depressed when my hair wouldn't go right, and I got depressed if I had an argument with a friend at school. I mean, those are all the things that everybody
you
gets
did get depressed?
Oh, yes, but I don't know anybody who hasn't.
So it's a normal state of affairs at times, for everybody?
Well, I hope so,
right.
and I'm sure it is, yes.
What did you do to deal with it?
Well, funny you should mention dancing, because I used to do quite a lot of dance classes, and I always found that helped. I would talk about it with whoever would listen, usually my family, and I found that actually helped as well. And a teacher, unlike you, I had happy experiences with teachers, and there's a wonderful teacher who said to me, always remember that present fears are less than horrible imaginings. In other words, very often, most often, things aren't as bad as you think they're going to be. Usually. This
too will pass. This will end. Keep telling yourself that, and have a good time with your friend.
Absolutely. A letter now from someone who is 8 years old. When I'm angry or confused, I stand completely still, shut my eyes and hold my breath. People stare at me as though I'm mad. Please, can you help?
It must make you look as though you're about to burst. I don't think it's a terribly good idea to hold your breath, so breathe. Instead, open your mouth and say, I'm so angry with you, I think I'm going to burst. In other words, talk about it. And if you say it, you don't have to do what, in my business, we call act it out. You don't have to go through a great performance. If you say something to somebody, you put it outside yourself and you can let it go and you can release the feeling behind it. So remember, we need to breathe, and remember that if you go on doing this, it's going to hurt you rather than deal with the person who caused you the problem. If somebody stamps on your foot, you want to push them away gently and say, that hurt, don't do it again, rather than, well, you've seen that before, won't it?
Does it look like you're trying not to blush exercise?
Yes.
No. Thank you very much, Philip, for today. You're coming in again in a few weeks' time.
Next month.
Look forward to that. If you've got a problem and you'd like to share it with Philip, then write to us. Growing Pains, Going Live, P.O. Box 8181, London W12 7SE.